The Nintendo Wii was released in 2006 in almost every part of the world. It was a console that wanted to increase its core audience by targeting the casual gamer of the time. A casual gamer was usually someone that didn't play video games and called everything that hooked up to a TV a Nintendo. This change was needed since the last big console didn't perform that well for Nintendo. As much as I loved the GameCube, the console wasn't that popular. It even sold less than the Nintendo 64. One thing you can say about Nintendo is that they always try to provide an experience. You might not like the Nintendo 64 controller, but that ugly piece of tech basically redefined 3D movement. The GameCube controller was another weird thing that had a unique design. The Wii used a controller that had the ability to read your movements. Not very accurate though, but good enough for bowling and tennis. Wii Sports was one of the most played games of that era. Since it was included with every Wii, you couldn't escape from the Wii grasp. It was everywhere. Even the commercials were funny, and invited the whole family to play. However, if you've been into video games as long as me, you know Nintendo had had some failures along its line of products. The successor of the Wii was the Wii U, a convoluted mess. I remember at the time I didn't know if the thing was a giant controller with a screen or something more. Consumers were confused. At the end of the day, even though the Wii U had some good games here and there, it failed to live up to the success the Wii had. I consider Nintendo handhelds another universe. While you could connect some of them to their big brothers, the Nintendo portable devices were unique in its games and hardware. The Game Boy was such a great console that Nintendo basically changed it just enough times to make it last from '89 to 2003. And yeah, you could argue the Game Boy Color is a different system, but let's be honest here, it is just a better Game Boy. Having such a vast array of experiences was interesting enough for people that wanted to jump into the Nintendo family. So when Nintendo announced the Switch as a portable and home console, I thought it was the perfect evolution. But I wasn't sold on the console yet. You see, I grew up with the Nintendos. For young kids in the 90s, Mario, Zelda or Pokemon were symbols of fun. Games you needed to play in order to have a social interaction. They were more than games. I didn't think the Nintendo Switch was such a great console, and the constant re-releases of Wii U games weren't a push for me. Why would I want to play Mario Kart 8 again? It wasn't until a certain Zelda game was announced for Switch that I thought, okay, they have me again. Here's my soul, Nintendo. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening was released worldwide on September 20th, 2019, 2 years after the Switch release. I wanted the console, but I didn't bring myself to buy one. Which Switch should I buy? By 2019, the Nintendo Switch Lite was also available to buy, so between my stupidity and confusion, I ended up waiting till 2020, and then COVID happened. Prices began to go up, scalpers everywhere. If you wanted a Switch, you had to give up a long. And the Switch games are really fucking expensive, like they are made of gold, so I watched as everyone was either playing Animal Crossing or unboxing their limited editions. Twitch was full of people streaming it. You couldn't escape. Top Nook was everywhere. Of course, other good games were released during 2020, but the impression Link's Awakening and Animal Crossing left on me was too big to fight. I wanted one. So at the end of 2020, I checked my bank account, I cried for a moment, and left to buy me a freaking Nintendo Switch. And I bought a Lite. I love Nintendo handhelds. If you search for a Switch vs Lite comparison, everyone will tell you the same thing. If you don't care about having an only portable system, the Lite is for you. But I think that statement lacks some points a person wanting to join the cult of Nintendo might need to know. First of all, the Nintendo Switch is a whole unit. Joy-Cons are attached to the sides. You could pair it with controllers, but I don't see the point. It has the classic D-pad and all the buttons you need to play games on this thing. Also, it has different colors that remind me of the Play It Loud series. Despite being made of plastic, the console feels very resistant. Compared to the Switch, I think this one might respond better to drops. The console comes with a charger and that's it. You turn it on and you are more or less ready to play. The Switch Lite is a better version of the 3DS. It's a very well built system. And this might sound weird, but it has all that Nintendo magic. The Switch, while being a great console of its own, feels and looks like a console. It doesn't have that silliness Nintendo used to have in the past. The Lite feels like a return to form. Sure, you can customize your Switch and Joy-Cons, but allow me to remind you the amount of color the 3DS used to have, and the Wii U box, or the Wii controller, those felt like toys you could play with. And let me tell you, the Switch and Lite are more focused on games that you might think of. They have almost zero apps. It is a game console through and through. Also, the amount of games available right now is crazy. Even games like Doom Eternal or Witcher 3 can be played on this thing. Sure, they look like shit, but you can play them. Having a smaller screen actually helps the Lite. Games look better than on TV. I would totally buy a Switch that I have the Lite. I get the appeal. but I wanted more of a collection piece than a console I want to play on. The Lite feels like something you want to turn on and waste a few hours in. And, if you're like me and don't have much space in your house, having a console available at all times really helps you when you only have 30 minutes to get some moons. Just buy a carrying case and you're golden for long trips. The only important thing you miss about the Lite is connecting it to a TV, but as I said, I don't think it is such a big thing. If you want to stream or record gameplay for a project, go for the Switch. It is a very simple decision, but one that seems more complicated on paper. Whatever you choose at the end, you're gonna enjoy. But let's be real here. The Lite looks and feels much better. Now I got Link's Awakening, so I might disappear from the internet for a week. I think I earned it.